I was 11 the night the rain came sideways, palms bowing, like they were apologizing me barefoot on the shoulder of Coquina Parkway, balancing a plastic tray of clementines on my head, because my aunt swore if I came home with one left, I'd sleep on the porch with the dogs. Then a black sedan eased up. The window slid down, and a man asked the one question. Nobody asked out there in the storm, "Where are your shoes?" I walked over because you can smell kindness, the way the ocean smells like salt. The man's blazer was already speckled with rain. He didn't flash cash or bark an order. He said his name was Carter, and crouched like kneeling in a puddle. Meant nothing, he studied my shaking arms, the dents in my shoulder from the tray, the old half-moon scars on my forearm. And when I told him my name was Willow, and my parents were at the church parking lot 10 miles north, the edge where memory stops, he blinked slow, then nodded like a judge who'd made up his mind. Put the tray down. "Willow," he said, gentle but final. And when I hesitated, he added, "I'm not driving away." So I put it down. He opened the back door, lifted the whole sticky tray in, like he'd been carrying my world all his life. I slid into leather that swallowed my sharp shoulder blades. He cranked the heat, handed me a napkin like a treaty, then asked what I really wanted, not what I was told to want. And the answer came out ragged. A uniform, a classroom, the smell of library books, a life where the garage door opening doesn't make my stomach collapse. You know what I mean? We didn't go to some mansion first. We went to the 3rd precinct on Bayview, flickering lights and linoleum that curled at the edges. The desk sergeant sighed. Like paperwork owed him money. These cases get messy. "You sure you want to be involved?" and Carter said without raising his voice. "I'm already involved." They took a statement, snapped photos. The flash made me flinch each time like lightning. His phone buzzed, and I saw a name before he flipped it. June. He stared at the screen like a man on the edge of a high dive. Then answered. I found someone who needs a place to dry off. The soft voice on the other end. Something unwound in his jaw. And 20 minutes later, I watched a different door swing open on a different life. June met us in an oversized sweater in a glass house over a dark canal where docks ticked like metronomes. Rosemary in the air, clean laundry somewhere. She didn't ask for proof or preach about boundaries. She dropped to a knee until her eyes were level with mine. "Hi, Willow. I'm June in this house. You don't have to ask permission to breathe." Kindness can feel like a slap. When you've been braced for the opposite your whole life, I said. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers," and she smiled. "Then let's not be strangers, arms open." One step, then all the steps took themselves, and I don't know who started crying first. Morning in that kitchen was a movie. Eggs in a skillet, a radio with hosts bickering like cousins, a white dog snoring under a stool. June set a plate down and said, "In this house, food isn't earned. It's offered." I ate slow, just to make sure nothing vanished. If I blinked, Carter leaned in the doorway like a question that finally found its answer for 14 hours. It felt like the storm couldn't get in. Then the phone rang and the spell cracked. "The desk sergeant, Mr. Hale, the guardian, is here. She's accusing you of kidnapping." I fork clinked against the plate. June squeezed my shoulder. "We're not letting you walk into that alone." The station's waiting area smelled like old coffee and short tempers. Aunt Dina stormed in with her chin yutted like a weapon eyeliner, waterproofed for drama. "You disgrace me. Come here." She reached for my wrist, and Carter moved between us like a doorframe. "You will not touch her." She laughed without humor. "You won't tell me how to raise my niece. Rich folks think they can shop for families like furniture." The sergeant tried to referee. June spoke, voice steady but humming like a bridge under a truck. If you loved her, she wouldn't flinch at your footsteps. Dina went quiet, only because she saw the camera above the desk. Then she swung low and mean. You can't just take her because you can't have your own, yeah? That happened. June's face flushed. Carter's jaw jumped and he said, "What changed the road under our feet? Then we'll do this properly. With the law." The courthouse on Magnolia looked tired, and knew it. The judge wore gray hair braided like a crown, and glasses halfway down her nose so she could peer over them. When someone's story didn't line up, Dina put on a church dress and a soft voice that didn't belong to her. I provided shelter. Food, discipline. I am her blood. They want to buy what God denied them. The room buzzed. Poverty a shield, and I felt small. Until Carter stood, not chest out. Just upright, poverty isn't on trial. Neglect is. You can be broke and kind, rich and cruel. What matters is who is safe when the doors close. The judge looked at me. "Willow, would you like to say anything?" Knees knocking. June's hand slid into mine. "Tell the truth, honey," so I did. The porch was cold. The broom handle had splinters. The garage light meant run the tray. Left a dent on my head that took all night to fade. I wanted to smell library books more than I wanted to count coins. Like sins. My voice broke and kept going anyway. The room got the kind of quiet where people face the part of themselves they avoid. Here's the twist that flipped everything. At the second hearing, the assistant state attorney rolled out the boring holy work. A neighbor who heard me sniffling behind a door. A school secretary who'd marked me absent enough to taste it. A doctor explaining faint lines on skin, then photos on a screen. Me on the highway in rain. Heavy enough to blur the lens, the old bruises I had learned to ignore because noticing didn't change anything. Dinah held up a Bible like a road flare. Swore and swore, said we were turning a child into a toy. Said God sees, and the judge didn't blink. God may be watching Mrs. Reyes, so am I, and I have photographs. Then she turned to me, and her voice softened. "Your safety leads here." The gavel cracked custody to Carter and June, pending adoption referral for criminal investigation into neglect and abuse. The words hit like heat, returning to numb fingers. Sharp then sweet, June sobbed. The sound of something unclenching after years. Carter placed one hand on my shoulder and one on her back and closed his eyes like a man saying grace. Reporters waited on the steps. A flash popped and I ducked out of habit. Somebody shouted about billionaires fixing their image after layoffs. Carter didn't feed it. He buckled me into the middle seat like I was the only story that mattered, and we drove away. The montage of starting over is small and loud. The first time June braided my hair, while the dog watched like he understood the navy polo and skirt. On the first day of school, the smell of dry erase markers and pencil shavings. A teacher asking what I thought instead of what I owed Carter doing. Silly voices reading library books on my rug. A report card that said excellent and meant it. A second toothbrush in the cup. A tiny backpack by the door. A clay turtle on the mantel painted crooked and perfect. The house sounded different too. Laughter took off its shoes and stayed. Adoption day smelled like sanitizer and hope. A judge with a flamingo tie asked if I wanted my name to change, and I said yes. Hale feels like a door that swings. Easy papers. Signed pancakes. At noon in June, taped the order inside the spice cabinet like a private altar, I opened that door for weeks, just to look at the proof. If you want the credits to roll here, I get it. But life keeps talking. A think piece went viral. Months later, about billionaires collecting kids while cutting staff. They used my story without my name. Comments did what comments do. Beautiful buying virtue. Both, I deleted the app for a while. We got letters too. Some blessed us. Some interrogated my mother's uterus. And God's plan, June, fed the hate to the shredder like spaghetti. Carter framed one note from a woman in Ohio who became a foster parent at 50 because she saw what love looks like with its sleeves rolled up. I saw Dina outside a dollar store one afternoon. Headscarf, low plastic bag. Carving her fingers. The wind held its breath between us. Part of me wanted a courtroom speech. Part wanted to run. What I did was walk close enough to see where the eyeliner ended, and the human began. She looked older in miles. Her mouth open to fire. The same old words. Nothing came. She glanced at my shoes. "Niece," she said, voice a little gravel. "They don't live in the closet," I answered. We stood like two weather systems that used to collide. Forgiveness felt like skydiving. Possible for some, not today. For me, so I said the only true thing that didn't betray my new life. "I hope you find help then." I turned toward the car, where June waited with the dog. And a snack in the cup holder. I didn't look back. That's not dramatic. That's just healing. So tell me, was Carter right to bring me home before the paperwork can wealth do good without strings? What do neighbors owe when they hear a kid crying through a door? If you've lived any side of this, what did people get wrong about you? Drop your take in the comments. Keep it honest. Keep it human, and if my story hit a nerve like the video, subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from. Do you believe one person paying attention can bend a life? Or do you think that's just a nice story we tell ourselves? I'll see you down there.